What's up guys, welcome to Daily Refinement. Today's video we're going to go over what I learned selling on Whatnot for almost 6 months. So I'm about $600,000 in sales and I'm going to go over what I learned along the way. So I appreciate you guys. Please smash the like button, consider subscribing. We'll see you inside. So just to begin, I've done hundreds of shows on Whatnot. Even though I've only been on the platform for about 6 months, we've probably done 300 shows. So I've been testing shows by myself, with staff, with a crew. I've done the full build-up on YouTube. Obviously, having a social media influence does affect your sales. But I've also done pop-ups in the middle of the night. I've done pop-ups in the thrift store parking lot. And before we get into the rest of the video, I will say that if I plan more ahead, I make a lot more money than if I just do it randomly. So a general rule is if you put more work into it, you're gonna get more out of it. An example would be, we did a big build-up on a shoe stream. On that shoe stream, we did $37,000 in one day. We did a big 1 month plan for a t-shirt show. That show did $32,000 in one day. The alternative is I went to Utah and I did a show in the parking lot, and with no planning, I went thrifting, I came out, I threw it on my car, I did 3 items, I actually made $3. So all that work to only make $3. That's with a huge social media following. So it's really important to understand you still need to prep. I'm trying to get 2 months ahead on my shows so my audience knows exactly what's coming, so I can plan, so I can order, so I can hype it up, so I can do the proper marketing to make it work. So it's really important. Whatnot really is you get what you put into it. I really believe most things in life are like that. So there's this saying that you should stay green because if you become ripe, you start to rot. So I don't pretend like I know everything, but I will tell you that I do know that if you try a lot, you get a lot more success than people who don't. So I put in a tremendous amount of effort learning how everything works. And I think everyone really needs to think about spending more time trying to figure out what the customer wants. I think a lot of you remember I did a show that was about 2 hours long where I wrote down how much the shipping cost was on the buyer side. So I said, okay guys, help me out. How much is 1 ounce? How much is 2 ounces? How much is 3 ounces? How much is 4 ounces? What happens if we combine 2? What happens if we combine 3? Now, of course, you could just Google Whatnot shipping chart and it will give you a rundown of what Whatnot charges. But if you're doing it in person and you've tested a few different packages on your own, you will just remember. On the fly, I can tell somebody says, I want to combine these 3 items. I know it'll be $9 shipping, or this is $13 shipping, or these 3 or 4 items I can bundle together and they still stay under the shipping and the customer can get essentially 1 shipping cost for 5 items. So it's really important to understand on Whatnot, even though I've sold 22,000 separate transactions, I've sold well over 100,000 different items. My lots are usually 5 or more items because I'm essentially sorting all items into like things, so people are buying the same types of items. So I might sell 20 t-shirts in one lot, 10 t-shirts in one lot. I might sell 2 dresses in one lot. And I've utilized a bunch of different streams as methodology. So I watch sports cards, I watch Pokemon, I watch men's modern, I watch men's vintage, I watch women's modern, which is the category that I'm mainly in. I watch all these different categories to learn what they are doing. I even tried a food stream where I sold pies. It's important to test everything, and I think it's important to know that I've done lives where I don't sell anything or where it doesn't sell out because I didn't price it properly. And on the fly, I have to take it on the chin and lower the price so it will sell out. If I'm doing a game or I'm doing a raffle, raffles are not allowed, but essentially what you could do is you could do a mystery pull of 10 different boxes. But if you put 10 different boxes up and only 5 sell during your stream, it's your responsibility, in my opinion, to sell out. If you have to sell the last 5 boxes for $1 just so that you can successfully execute the game, I think you need to do that. So it's your responsibility to deliver a good experience for the customer, and you should just ask them. We have a front-facing iPad, so we ask the customers, how's this going? Is it fair? Is it not fair? I'll give you guys an example of one that kind of went wonky. I bought a Nordstrom palette that was supposed to be no Nordstrom brands in the Nordstrom palette, so it wasn't supposed to have house brands. It ended up having a lot of house brands in it. That's why I priced the items at $10. Now, on a normal Nordstrom palette, you could probably do the average item in the lot $20 to $30 because the MSRP would be over $100 on every single item. But because it was sort of unknown, I priced it at $10. Now, a few things happen. At the $10 price point, it's going to sell faster, especially if there are items that are worth $100. However, because the lot was kind of wonky and it had some kids in it, it had some house brands in it, I literally asked the audience, is this fair? Do you want to continue? How can we adjust? In the end, out of 750 customers, there's probably 3 to 4 customers that I had to adjust what they got, because at the very end, we didn't have enough items. All we had was baby items. So it was difficult to fulfill the order because it was not as advertised. So it's important. If something happens during the stream, which is going to happen to you if you run enough shows, on the fly, you need to be able to make the customer happy. And it doesn't matter what other people think. There are people who will make a YouTube video about you saying, oh, this person is whatever, but it doesn't matter. It really just matters what the customer that bought from you thinks. They have the ability to file a chargeback on their credit card. If they're really, really unhappy, you call your credit card, you call whatnot, they'll give you your money back. Right? So don't worry about people outside of your stream, what they think. Worry about your customers inside your show. So at this point, I have, I think, 13 or 15,000 followers on Whatnot. The majority of those did not come from YouTube. They came from the fact that I've run hundreds of shows, different kinds of stuff, tested different things, and I've built a relationship with my audience. Also, I'm trying to build a relationship with my other streamers in the audience, and it's really important to understand, if you're really trying to be a community-driven channel, which is what I'm focused on, then you need to focus on the relationships with other streamers, with the people that are in your audience. And again, these follow trains, I don't necessarily think work. I think you actually need to support your fellow streamers with money. So go into somebody's stream, buy something. Don't just, there's these gangs of teams that go around and follow people's stores and don't buy anything. I'm not sure that's as effective. To me, that's like Poshmark. Poshmark, everybody follows everybody, and they don't support each other. Supporting is money. So that's why when I'm doing something, I try not to say, hey, you're my friend, can you give me 90% off? That's not really supporting your friend. If you say, hey, you're charging $80 for a haircut, I'll pay $80 for a haircut and tip you $20, you're actually helping that business succeed. If you say, you can even tell your friend, you know what, your haircuts aren't that great. You're like a $35 haircut person, but you're charging $80, right? So they can get some feedback. But asking your friends for a discount is kind of corny, so I don't really recommend doing that, because if you're really community driven, you want to help people with their value, either tell them the value is too low and they need to raise their price, tell them the value is, they've overvalued their items, they need to lower their price, and if it's good, just pay for it. Okay, so I think it's important to understand, people are asking about preloading versus not preloading. If you preload, you'll probably get more money. At least you have the opportunity to get more money, because people know what's coming up and they can pre-bid before they leave. For me, on many occasions, somebody's pre-bid over what the item would have gone for if I didn't preload the item. The only downside to preloading is that it reduces the mystery. People kind of pay more when it's impulsive and they don't know what's coming next. So if you're like, all of a sudden, shock drop, if you follow the shoe sellers, they'll pop in with a crazy shoe once in a while to keep the audience engaged. I definitely recommend doing that. There's sellers that have a giveaway every 15 minutes. There's sellers that have an amazing item every 3 or 4 items to keep people interested in staying in the stream as long as possible. So I think that's important. Don't waste the audience when it's in there. So my streamers are saying that sometimes you'll get a shout out from an influencer or something, and there might be 100 or 200 people in your stream, and normally there's only 5. Take advantage of that and run as many items as possible. You have the traffic, now it's time to show them what you got. Don't say, oh, thank you so much for being here. It's so awesome. I've never had this many people in here. By that point, everyone has left the audience. So make sure that you are there. I like to do the machine gun method, where it's just item after item after item after item. There's no way to leave the stream. I want people to stay in my stream the entire day. You want to mix it up. I'm a fan of sudden death. I'm a fan of a shorter timer. I'm also a fan of a longer timer and conversating with your audience about each item, letting them know every single feature. With a 15-second timer, it's very difficult for someone to make a good decision. So essentially what happens is you'll get a boost for impulsive buyers, the people that want to play the game and it's fun to bid in that kind of format, but you're also not going to be able to give the people who would pay top dollar all the details they need to pay top dollar. Very difficult. Unless the item is brand new, it's very difficult for them to pay 100 if it's worth 100, because in 15 seconds you can't really analyze it. A good example would be, Victor and I were looking at a Pokemon streamer, and he had this really cute Snorlax. I liked it, right? And it went up to $50. I didn't really have enough time to research whether or not $50 is a good price or not, so I just paid $50 for it. This can happen, but looking online, this Snorlax card is worth all the way up to $107. So I knew that looking at the comps before I bid, but again, still difficult to assess, like, am I being ripped off or am I not being ripped off? I think it's important to understand you have to be comfortable buying an item. I think that either you can resell for most of the money, or if you're looking to resell for a profit, Whatnot's probably not the best sourcing unless you have tax exempt set up and you're only shopping from people who are having their first streams and they're desperate. So I find that that's an effective strategy on Poshmark. Some people are so desperate that you can say, you know what, you have 10 Patagonia jackets, how about $75 for all 10? And they're so desperate because they haven't sold anything in such a long time, they take that deal. That happens on Whatnot all the time. If you go into somebody's stream that only has 3 people in it, there's a really good likelihood they're not getting good prices, no one's bidding, and they're kind of down on themselves. And that's a good opportunity. If you're going in there to take advantage and find items to resell, I would sign up for tax exemption, and then you should at least support that person by buying all their items so they can have some cash flow. Because for me, selling an item at a loss, at least I have the money, I learned my lesson, I can start over again, buy something profitable. So here's an example. Something is worth 10. In my auctions, I start 99% of my auctions at $1. If I think the market value is 10, I'm never gonna start at 10. I feel like that's not giving yourself an opportunity for it to sell for 12 or 13 if 2 people get into a bidding war, and I think it will end at 10 anyway. If you start at 10, you might as well just sell on eBay or Poshmark, do the fixed price. What's the point of even having an auction format if you start it at the price that you're looking for? I'm okay you starting it at a price that you're willing to sell it at. Let's say that you want 10, but you're willing to sell it for 4, and you want to start at 4. In my opinion, still start it at $1. There's probably no chance it's only going to end for 4, but if you're really afraid, you can go ahead and do that. But I think that your customers can sense fear, right? If you list an item and say, I really don't care what it sells for, it's probably going to end for above what you think it's going to sell for. Just from my experience, people can smell fear. And if you smell fearful, they're not going to bid. They're going to be worried that there's something wrong with the item or it's not as described. So do the best you can. Customer service is now visible, so people will post their reviews publicly, so do the best job you can. I know Whatnot can remove negative feedback. If you have an issue, you can email them if you feel like it's unfair. And if they rule in your favor, they can remove the feedback. For me personally, I don't do that because it takes extra time, and I think that it's transparent to show both the good and the negative reviews. So I'm not perfect, not trying to be perfect, but do the best you can with every single person. So also, customers don't owe you anything. Whatnot doesn't owe you anything. Your followers don't mean sales. So don't get butthurt. Don't get upset if you have 2,000 followers and there's only 4 people in your stream. That's normal. I don't know why some people bid a lot on Monday and sometimes on payday they don't bid. There is no rhyme or reason, so what you want to do is just run as many shows as possible and be as consistent as possible. Have the same kind of shows every single week so people can show up. I love the streamers that are like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9, 1, and 3. We come on, we list 20 items. They'll all be great. They're all men's, they're all shorts. That's easy to understand. You can go back to that show over and over again and build that repeat clientele. One of the main reasons why my Whatnot has grown is repeat clientele. We have a lot. And you guys know Whatnot just released that feature that puts a crown on the top buyer. They actually just removed that. People don't really like knowing that they're wasting the most money on the stream, so I think that it's good that they removed that feature. But I think that you do need to take care of what we call here whales. So take care of your good customers, be nice, throw in a couple of extras for them because they're really supporting your stream, especially if they're paying the price that you're asking for. Because that's not always the case on a different platform. You might want 100, but you have to accept offers of 70. On Whatnot, it's pretty amazing that, as you guys know, when I ran my eBay business, my sell-through rate was 3 to 4 months. On Whatnot, it's about 1 week. I'm getting inventory in today and I want it gone in 5 days. So I'm looking at the method of streaming means with that type of sell-through, you can afford to give people a really good deal. So you buy something for $7, I was selling items I paid $7 for 10. That's a good deal for the customer because I'm buying wholesale. So I'm buying $20 items, $30 items for 7 and selling it to the customer for 10. That's why the sell-through rate is so high. If you're buying items for 15 that are worth 20, you're kind of in trouble because people want a deal. They're not going to pay 20 for a $20 item. So I think that a lot of people are really disappointed with their performance. And I just want to say again, there's no silver bullets. What works today might not work tomorrow. Just dedicate yourself to making this work no matter what. So the only thing that I really unsubscribed to is failing. Like everyone should read this book. It's called Made in America by Sam Walton. I have a list of books at bit.ly/ecombooks. It's in my reseller supplies link too, bit.ly/reseller supplies are the best books. Sam Walton was the most successful seller of all time. Maybe Jeff Bezos will pass him, but Sam Walton made $100 billion in his life. He started Walmart, and it's amazing. That book only takes an hour or two to read, and you can really understand what goes through the mind of somebody really dedicated to making it work. And I just thought it was really funny because he said that he unsubscribed to recessions. He's like, if the economy is having a recession, I don't want to participate. I'm not going to be recessed. I'm going to do fine no matter what happens. So I think that for all of us, we're getting older every day. Every day you get more baggage. Every day it gets harder, at least for me. But you will get better. And that's the moral of today's story. It's never going to get easier. There's never a good time. The best time to do it is 10 years ago. The second best time is today, right? So start right now. Don't get discouraged. You have to get better because it will always get harder. If you do the same thing every single day, I guarantee you, you will fail. You have to improve. So whatnot, reselling, it's all the same. You have to improve or you'll be left behind. That's just the cold, harsh truth. So if you guys need more help, you can join my Patreon at patreon.com/resellers podcast. Both Tech and Sports and I, who run the group, we both do over 100,000 a month. So we know what we're talking about when it comes to whatnot. He doesn't do social media at all. He just runs items all day long. I do a little bit of everything. So appreciate you guys. Until next time, make progress daily.